Welcome to your personalized deep dive. Today, we're going to time travel, but not in a DeLorean. We're talking billions of years, the entire history of Earth, condensed into one deep dive. Buckle up.
And you're going to need more than a seatbelt for this ride, because we're covering some seriously mind-blowing stuff. Imagine a planet covered entirely in ice, or giant dragonflies with 2-foot wingspans.
Oh, wait, that's definitely grabbing my attention. I'm already picturing myself swatting at giant prehistoric mosquitoes. But let's start at the very beginning. How do scientists even organize billions of years? Our sources mention something called the geologic timescale.
Right. Think of it like a massive history book. But instead of chapters, we have eons, eras, periods, epochs, ages, basically different levels of zoom. It's not a straightforward timeline either. Some of these chunks are way longer than others because, well, Earth doesn't change at a steady pace. Sometimes things are relatively calm, other times it's total chaos.
So it's more like an epic drama, with periods of intense action and then some slower scenes to let things settle. Where do we even begin with a story this big?
Let's rewind to the very first chapter, the Hadean Eon. This is Earth's rough-and-tumble childhood. About 4.6 billion years ago, picture a molten world bombarded by meteorites, volcanoes erupting everywhere, and an atmosphere you wouldn't last a second in. Not exactly a vacation destination.
Wow, that's a hard pass for me. But I'm guessing things eventually cooled down a bit.
Exactly. Enter the Archean Eon, starting about 4 billion years ago. Continents began to form, and we see the first signs of life. Now, we're not talking dinosaurs or anything fancy yet. It's single-celled organisms, bacteria and archaea, the real pioneers of life on Earth.
Tiny but mighty. I'm sensing a butt coming, though. It couldn't have been smooth sailing from there, right?
You know it. Even those early life forms had a dramatic impact. They developed photosynthesis, which slowly, over millions of years, pumped oxygen into the atmosphere. It's like they were terraforming the planet, setting the stage for the next act.
Talk about a game changer. That oxygen led to the Proterozoic Eon, which is 2.5 billion to 541 million years ago. What went down during this massive chunk of time?
Oxygen was the star of the show, allowing for more complex life forms to evolve. This is where we see the first eukaryotic cells, the building blocks of all plants and animals. And toward the end of this eon, boom, multicellular organisms enter the scene.
From single cells to multicellular organisms, it's like evolution went from building with Legos to creating complex structures. But hold on, our sources mention something about Snowball Earth.
Ah, yes. Picture this. The entire planet, almost completely covered in ice. These snowball Earth events were dramatic climate shifts that happened multiple times during the Proterozoic. Talk about an ice age that makes our current concern seem a bit less drastic.
Okay, that's an image I won't soon forget. So after all that ice and drama, we finally arrive at the Phanerozoic Eon, our current eon.
Exactly. The Phanerozoic, from 541 million years ago to the present, is where things really explode in terms of life's diversity. It's the eon where we get those iconic creatures we all know and love, from trilobites to dinosaurs to, well, us.
Now we're talking dinosaurs and humans in the same eon. But even within the Phanerozoic, there are a few major eras to unpack.
Right. We've got the Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and Cenozoic. Think of these as the big acts in the Phanerozoic play. The Paleozoic Era, from 541 to 252 million years ago, starts with a bang. Literally, the Cambrian explosion.
The Cambrian explosion, that sounds dramatic. What exactly exploded?
Life itself. Imagine a relatively empty state suddenly flooded with bizarre and diverse creatures, many with hard shells and exoskeletons. It was a period of rapid evolution and diversification, unlike anything before.
So it's like evolution went into overdrive. And where can we find evidence of this incredible event?
The Burgess Shale, a fossil site in Canada, is like a time capsule from the Cambrian explosion, perfectly preserving these weird and wonderful creatures. Imagine creatures like Hallucigenia, which look like a walking spiny toothbrush, or Obabenia, with its 5 eyes and a long claw-tipped proboscis. It was a truly alien world.
It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie. I'm picturing a Cambrian safari, though I'm not sure how safe that would be. But the Paleozoic era wasn't all sunshine and trilobites, was it?
Sadly, no. Life was just getting started when the Paleozoic era was hit with the largest mass extinction in Earth's history, the Permian-Triassic extinction.
Oh, right, the Great Dying. I've heard about that. It wiped out a crazy percentage of life on Earth.
More than 90% of marine species and 70% of terrestrial vertebrates vanished. It was a devastating blow to life on Earth, almost like hitting the reset button. But even in the face of such incredible destruction, life found a way to bounce back.
Resilience seems to be a theme here.
Yeah.
So within the Paleozoic, we have a few key periods to explore, each with its own unique story. Where should we go next on our Paleozoic adventure?
Let's dive into the Ordovician period, 485 to 443 million years ago. This is where marine life really started to diversify, with creatures like brachiopods, trilobites, and cephalopods becoming abundant. We even see the first coral reefs and jawless fish.
Coral reefs and jawless fish. It sounds like the oceans were becoming a bustling metropolis. But wait, didn't our sources say the Ordovician ended with another extinction event?
Unfortunately, yes. The Ordovician Silurian extinction, while not as severe as the Great Dying, still wiped out a significant portion of life, particularly in the oceans. Scientists believe it was triggered by global cooling and glaciation, a stark reminder that climate change has been shaping life on Earth for billions of years.
So another setback for life. But it's not the end of the story. What happens after this Ordovician shakeup?
Life rebounds, as it always seems to do. The Silurian period, 443 to 419 million years ago, saw the emergence of jawed fish, a major evolutionary innovation. We also see the first tentative steps of life onto land, with the appearance of terrestrial plants.
Jawed fish, that's a big deal. It's like the first fight towards all the incredible fish we see today. And plants on land, that's a whole new world opening up, literally.
Exactly. The Silurian was a period of recovery and diversification, setting the stage for even more dramatic changes in the Devonian period, 419 to 359 million years ago.
Our sources called the Devonian the Age of Fishes. So I'm guessing fish were really hitting their evolutionary stride during this time.
You bet. The Devonian sees a massive diversification of fish species, including some seriously strange-looking ones. But the real star of the show is the appearance of tetrapods.
Tetrapods. Those are our four-limbed vertebrate ancestors, right? The brave pioneers who eventually crawled out of the water and onto land, paving the way for all terrestrial vertebrates, including us.
Precisely. The Devonian was a pivotal time in the history of life. And while fish were flourishing in the water, plants were busy transforming the landscape, forming the first forests. Imagine the world changing before your eyes, from barren rock to lush green forests.
It's like watching a time-lapse of evolution in action. But didn't this period end with another round of extinctions? It seems like life just can't catch a break sometimes.
It's true, the late Devonian extinction. A series of extinction events hit marine life hard. But, thankfully, terrestrial ecosystems were less affected this time.
So another obstacle overcome. Life is persistent. What happens next in this grand evolutionary saga?
We enter the Carboniferous period, 359 to 299 million years ago. It's like walking into a prehistoric jungle. Vast forests of ferns, horsetails, and lycophytes covered the land, eventually forming the coal deposits we rely on today.
Wait, so our modern energy consumption is directly linked to these ancient forests? That's mind-blowing.
It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? The Carboniferous was also a time of giants. High oxygen levels allowed insects to grow to enormous sizes. Imagine dragonflies with wingspans of over 2 feet.
Giant insects. No, thank you. I'm glad those oxygen levels eventually came back down. But aside from giant bugs, what else was happening during this time?
This is where we see the first ambiotes, the ancestors of reptiles, birds, and mammals. It's a critical step in vertebrate evolution, paving the way for life to conquer diverse environments.
So the Carboniferous sets the stage for the Permian period, the last chapter of the Paleozoic era.
The Permian, 299 to 252 million years ago, saw a flourishing of life. Early reptiles and mammal-like reptiles diversified. The supercontinent Pangaea formed, and gymnosperms, the seed-bearing plants, became more common. It was a time of innovation and expansion.
It sounds like things were going pretty well for life during the Permian, but didn't our sources say this period ended with the Great Dying, the most severe mass extinction in Earth history? Talk about a plot twist.
It's true. The Permian-Triassic extinction, also known as the Great Dying, was a devastating event. It's estimated that over 90% of marine species and 70% of terrestrial species vanished. Imagine the impact on ecosystems worldwide.
It's hard to wrap my head around that level of devastation. It's almost like life had to start over from scratch.
In a way, it did. The Permian-Triassic extinction marks the end of the Paleozoic era and sets the stage for the rise of the dinosaurs in the Mesozoic era. But that's a story for another time.
Welcome back to our deep dive through Earth's history. In part 1, we journeyed from the planet's fiery birth to the dramatic end of the Paleozoic era, culminating in the Great Dying. Talk about a cliffhanger. Now, we're entering a whole new world, the Mesozoic Era, the age of dinosaurs.
Get ready for some serious prehistoric star power, the Mesozoic. From 252 to 66 million years ago is when dinosaurs truly took center stage, ruling the Earth for over 180 million years.
180 million years. That's an impressive reign. I'm ready to hear all about these legendary creatures. But first, let's set the scene. Our sources mention that the supercontinent Pangaea started breaking apart during this era.
Absolutely. Pangaea's breakup was a slow-motion drama that shaped the continents we know today. As land masses shifted and split, it influenced everything from ocean currents and climates to the evolution of life itself.
So it's like rearranging the furniture on a global scale. And what about the dinosaurs? How did they fit into this changing world?
The Mesozoic is divided into three periods: Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous. Each period had its own unique cast of characters and saw incredible evolutionary innovations.
Let's start with the Triassic, 252 to 201 million years ago. What was life like for the first dinosaurs?
The Triassic was a time of recovery and diversification after the Permian extinction. Life was re-emerging and experimenting with new forms. Early dinosaurs were relatively small and agile, running around on two legs. They were sharing the stage with other reptilian groups, but their time to shine was coming.
So it wasn't an instant takeover for the dinosaurs. They had to work their way up the prehistoric food chain.
Exactly. But as we move into the Jurassic period, 201 to 145 million years ago, dinosaurs truly take the spotlight. Pangaea continues to split apart, new continents form, and the climate warms, creating lush environments. This is the golden age of giants.
Now we're talking. Jurassic Park, here we come. I'm picturing vast herds of sauropods lumbering across fern-filled landscapes.
You're getting the picture. Sauropods. Those massive long-necked herbivores like Brachiosaurus were some of the largest land animals to ever exist. They shared the stage with armored dinosaurs like Stegosaurus, with its iconic plates, and the fearsome predator Allosaurus, a smaller but equally impressive forerunner to Tyrannosaurus rex.
It's like a prehistoric parade of incredible creatures. Did anything else noteworthy happen during the Jurassic?
Oh, just a little thing called the evolution of birds. Remember those small feathered theropod dinosaurs we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
Well, in the Jurassic, we see the first true birds, like Archaeopteryx, take to the skies.
Hold on. Birds evolved from dinosaurs. That's mind-blowing. It's like finding out your pet parrot is a distant relative of a T-Rex.
It's true. Birds are living dinosaurs, a remarkable testament to the power of evolution. And speaking of incredible creatures, the Jurassic seas were teeming with life as well. Imagine dolphin-like ichthyosaurs and long-necked plesiosaurs patrolling the depths.
It's like an underwater Jurassic Park. The Mesozoic era is really living up to its reputation for incredible biodiversity. But I know the dinosaurs' reign doesn't last forever. What happens in the Cretaceous period? The final chapter of the Mesozoic.
The Cretaceous, from 145 to 66 million years ago, saw continents continue to drift apart, creating more diverse ecosystems. Flowering plants, or angiosperms, burst onto the scene, adding a splash of color to the prehistoric landscape.
So we can thank the Cretaceous for the beautiful flowers we enjoy today, but what about the dinosaurs? Were they still ruling the Earth?
Absolutely. The Cretaceous was a time of intense evolutionary experimentation for dinosaurs. We see the emergence of iconic creatures like Tyrannosaurus rex, the fearsome predator with bone-crushing jaws, and Triceratops, the three-horned herbivore with a massive frill.
It's a dinosaur showdown for the ages. Tyrannosaurus rex versus Triceratops. It must have been an incredible sight to behold, though maybe not for the Triceratops.
It's fascinating to imagine those ancient ecosystems and the interactions between these incredible creatures. But, as you pointed out, the dinosaur's reign comes to an abrupt end.
The Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event. The infamous asteroid impact that wiped out the dinosaurs. Except for those lucky bird ancestors. It's a reminder of how even the most dominant creatures can be vulnerable to forces beyond their control.
It's a humbling lesson. But the end of the dinosaurs opened up a whole new chapter in Earth's history, the Cenozoic Era, the age of mammals.
Our era. I'm eager to hear how mammals took advantage of this newfound opportunity and evolved into the diverse creatures we see today.
Well, that's where things get really interesting. The Cenozoic, from 66 million years ago to the present, is a story of adaptation, diversification, and ultimately, the rise of humanity. But to fully appreciate this chapter, we need to dive deeper into the Cenozoic's epochs, each with its own unique twists and turns.
We're back for the final leg of our epic journey through Earth's history. In Part 1, we witnessed the planet's fiery birth and the rise of life. Then in Part 2, we marveled at the reign of dinosaurs and their dramatic demise. Now, we find ourselves in the Cenozoic Era, the age of mammals, and our own time.
It's been quite a ride. And the Cenozoic, From 66 million years ago to the present
Hmm.
is arguably the most dynamic and fascinating chapter yet. It's a story of mammals seizing their chance, diversifying into a mind-boggling array of forms, and ultimately paving the way for our own species to emerge.
I'm ready to dive in, but before we get to humans, let's rewind a bit. The Cenozoic is divided into epochs, right? Our sources mention the Paleocene, Eocene, and Oligocene as being particularly important for early mammal evolution.
You're right, the Paleocene epoch, immediately following the dinosaur extinction, was a time of recovery and opportunity. Mammals, previously overshadowed by those giant reptiles, began to diversify and explore new ecological niches.
So it's like the mammals were waiting in the wings, ready to take center stage. What were some of these early mammals like? Were they already resembling the mammals we know today?
Not quite. Early Paleocene mammals were generally small and unspecialized. Think shrew-like creatures and primitive ungulates, the ancestors of hoofed mammals. But the seeds of mammalian dominance were sown.
And then we move into the Eocene epoch, 56 to 34 million years ago. What was happening during this time?
The Eocene was a time of incredible warmth and lush vegetation. With tropical forests extending even to high latitudes, this warm climate created a paradise for mammals, and they really hit their evolutionary stride.
So a tropical world teeming with mammals. What were some of the stars of the Eocene show?
We see the first true primates evolving, including early lemurs and tarsiers, the ancestors of monkeys, apes, and eventually humans. Whales, another iconic group of mammals, also make their grand entrance during the Eocene, evolving from land-dwelling ancestors and taking to the seas.
Whales evolving from land mammals. That's one of those evolutionary tales that always blows my mind. It makes you realize just how adaptable and innovative life can be. And then what about the Oligocene epoch? 34 to 23 million years ago. What was the stage like then?
The Oligocene saw a global cooling trend, leading to the expansion of grasslands and a shift in vegetation patterns.
Hmm.
This environmental change had a profound impact on mammal evolution, favoring those adapted to grazing.
So it's like the stage set changed, and new actors were needed to fill the roles.
Exactly. And during the Oligocene, we see the first apes appearing, including early ancestors of humans. This marks a pivotal moment in our own evolutionary lineage.
Now, that's a scene I wouldn't want to miss. Apes swinging through the Oligocene forests. It's like a preview of our own evolutionary story.
It is. And alongside these evolutionary developments, the Oligocene also witnessed the formation of the Antarctic ice sheet, a major climatic event that further shaped ocean currents and global temperatures.
So we've got apes evolving, ice sheets forming, grasslands expanding. The Oligocene sounds like a pretty busy time. Where do we go from here in our Cenozoic adventure?
Next, we enter the Neogene period, spanning 23 to 2.6 million years ago, encompassing the Miocene and Pliocene epochs. This is when the world starts to look more familiar, with modern families of mammals emerging.
The world is becoming more recognizable, and our own ancestors are making their debut. Our sources mention hominins, our early human ancestors, evolving and diversifying during this period.
You're absolutely right. The Miocene epoch, 23 to 5.3 million years ago, saw continued cooling and the expansion of grasslands. This favored the evolution of grazing mammals, including horses, elephants, and the ancestors of modern carnivores like cats, dogs, and bears.
So we're seeing the ancestors of some of our favorite animals evolving alongside our own lineage. It's like watching a family reunion, millions of years in the making.
And during this time, hominins were starting to explore new ways of walking, foraging, and interacting with their environment. They were laying the groundwork for the later evolution of our genus.
It's incredible to think that these early hominins were walking the earth millions of years ago, facing challenges and making choices that ultimately led to us. What about the Pliocene epoch? 5.3 to 2.6 million years ago.
The Pliocene saw continued cooling and the formation of ice caps, setting the stage for the ice ages that would characterize the following epoch. Hominins continued to evolve and diversify during this time, and we see the emergence of Australopithecus, a genus that includes the famous Lucy fossil.
Lucy. That's a name we've all heard in connection with human evolution. It's amazing to think about those early hominins walking the earth millions of years ago, taking those crucial steps towards becoming human.
It's truly remarkable, and it was during the Pliocene that we see the first appearance of the genus Homo, our own genus. This marks a significant leap forward in human evolution, setting the stage for the emergence of Homo sapiens.
Us. From single-celled organisms in the Archean to the first members of our own genus in the Pliocene, it's an incredible story of transformation and resilience. What happens next in this grand evolutionary saga?
We enter the Quaternary period, 2.6 million years ago to the present, characterized by dramatic climate fluctuations. including the glacial and interglacial periods we know as ice ages. This period encompasses two epochs, the Pleistocene and the Holocene, our current epoch.
The Quaternary. The age of ice ages and the rise of modern humans. Our sources really highlighted this period's challenges and the incredible adaptations of life in the face of such extreme environmental changes.
It was a time of both adaptation and extinction. Many large mammals, known as megafauna, including mammoths, mastodons, saber-toothed cats, and giant ground sloths, went extinct during this period.
Megafauna. It's sad to think about these incredible creatures disappearing, but their fossils provide us with a glimpse into a world that was both familiar and strangely different.
Absolutely. And during the Pleistocene epoch, which spanned from 2.6 million to 11,700 years ago, we see early humans, like Homo erectus and Neanderthals, adapting to these challenging environments.
Homo erectus and Neanderthals are close relatives in the human family tree. It's fascinating to learn about their lives, their tools, and their interactions with the world around them.
Homo erectus was a remarkable species, the first hominin to leave Africa and spread to Asia and Europe. They were skilled toolmakers and had mastered the use of fire, allowing them to adapt to colder climates.
So, they were pioneers, venturing into new territories and expanding the range of our lineage. And Neanderthals, what were they like?
Neanderthals were our closest extinct human relatives, living in Europe and Asia and adapted to colder climates with shorter limbs and stockier builds. They were also skilled toolmakers and hunters, and they even interbred with Homo sapiens, meaning that some of us carry Neanderthal DNA in our genes today.
Neanderthal DNA in our genes, that's a powerful reminder of our shared ancestry and the interconnectedness of life on Earth.
It is. And then we arrive at the Holocene epoch, 11,700 years ago to the present, our current epoch. The Holocene is characterized by a relatively stable climate compared to the preceding Pleistocene, allowing for the flourishing of human civilization.
The Holocene, the epoch that witnessed the rise of agriculture, cities, and complex societies. It's the period that shaped our world as we know it.
It's true. The Holocene saw the shift from hunter-gatherer societies to settled agricultural communities. We see the domestication of plants and animals, the development of tools for farming, and the emergence of permanent settlements, pottery, and food storage.
It sounds like the Holocene is when human impact on the planet really starts to accelerate agriculture, while a remarkable innovation also led to significant changes in the environment, like deforestation and the alteration of landscapes.
Absolutely. The Holocene marks a turning point in our relationship with the planet, for better or worse. And it has led some scientists to propose a new epoch, the Anthropocene, to reflect the significant and lasting human impact on Earth.
The Anthropocene, the age of humans. It's a sobering thought, but it highlights our responsibility for the future of our planet.
It does. Whether or not the Anthropocene is officially recognized, there's no denying that our actions are now shaping the Earth's systems in profound ways, from climate change to biodiversity loss, to the accumulation of plastics in the environment.
It's a lot to take in. We've journeyed through billions of years, witnessing the incredible story of life on Earth, the dramatic twists and turns, the extinctions and the rebounds, the evolution of countless species, and ultimately, the emergence of our own. It's awe-inspiring and humbling.
It is, and it's a story that's still being written. We are part of this ongoing narrative, and the choices we make today will shape the future of our planet and the life it supports.
So where do we go from here? What have we learned from this incredible deep dive through Earth's history?
We've learned that life is incredibly resilient and adaptable, but also vulnerable to forces beyond its control. We've learned that change is a constant in Earth history, and that we, as humans, are now a driving force of change. But most importantly, we've learned that we have a responsibility to be mindful stewards of our planet, to understand the interconnectedness of all life, and to make choices that ensure a thriving future for generations to come.
And that brings our deep dive to a close. It's been an incredible journey through time, filled with wonder, discovery, and a renewed appreciation for our planet and its remarkable history.
I couldn't agree more. May this journey inspire you to continue exploring the mysteries of our planet and to embrace your role in shaping its future.